Hey, good morning. Um, Wanted to talk a little bit about the Brown University shooting investigation. I watched the video. I don't know if you've seen the 5 minute video the FBI released last night showing
Seen
the
it, seen it all.
yeah. So I can't help but feel like it um, feels like the Luigi Mangione investigation from last year with these video pieces coming out, the
Hmm.
surgical mask, all these things. Mark, my questions for you. I haven't heard you talk about this in a while, but prior to the election, you talked a lot about the mental health crisis that the US was going to be facing. And kind of looking backwards now, I want to know that the health crisis the country would face, depending on the outcome. And looking back now and what we've seen just with some of the crazy violence, going back to Mangione a year ago, going back to Charlie Kirk, this other things. I mean, there's a litany of things.
Yeah.
Do you think that it's manifesting? Is that what we're seeing?
Well,
Is
in terms of
Mangione?
Brown, until we know who did it, we can't speak to whether it fits into a larger context. I will say on that before I answer your question, I continue to say we were talking about this before the show. There are not very many uh, people who walk into a room with a gun, whether it's on a campus or someplace else, shoot and leave. They usually get killed or they kill themselves. There's some examples pointed out to me. The Parkland assassin left and was caught, but normally they don't. And so I'm not saying it was a hit on someone, but I'm saying we can't rule it out because this is an unusual circumstance for someone to get away. In terms of mental health crisis, there's a lot of strands to that. All the things, cause and effect related to fentanyl crisis, Trump, people who are very upset about President Trump's victory, anti-Semitism. There's lots of things out of whack in this country, and we've seen Charlie Kirk and other President Trump. We don't know the motive there, but the political violence has become a reality here. Violence has been a reality for a while. I wish we had a president who had the capacity and the inclination to work on this harder than this president does, but I'm extremely worried about it, and I'm not normally try to be optimistic. I'm not seeing the strands of recovery, of unity and of mental health, and particularly for young people who have turned away from faith, have turned to other things, social media, etc. I think we need a whole new generation, not just of governmental leaders, but of business leaders and faith leaders and community leaders and parents who try to get more of a handle on this. So that's my pessimistic answer. Yemisi, thoughts?
Well, I'm just I was more struck by the story. I mean, you bringing up Parkland. I was so struck by the story of the young woman that had survived that and then had experienced another. And we're kind of coming into where people are able to stack up at this point, having these kinds of experiences. And I don't really think anything changes. I've been more disappointed with law enforcement surrounding this. Each press conference has been a complete and utter disaster
Yes.
and mess. I actually saw the president put something out on Truth Social where he criticized Brown University for even their lack of security cameras. I just think in this environment where we are all hyper aware of what can happen to schools at any point, there's got to be a responsibility on academic institutions too to protect these students. Every video I see of students were not fully aware of some of the things that were even happening, that there was an active shooter on campus. Some of the students were running out of the engineering building and they said across the street they were running into students who had no idea what was going on. And it's like every time this happens, we have a conversation about mental health, we have a conversation about the Second Amendment. Okay, well, now we have to have a conversation, unfortunately, for all of our academic institutions about what are you doing to protect these children that parents are sending out of state when it's clear that they had no emergency preparedness.
Yeah.
Larry?
Yeah, and if you look at articles prior to this shooting, the students were complaining that there were too many cameras on the campus. They felt like it was one of the most surveilled campus, and they do have cameras, but certainly not in, ironically, the
Yeah.
places that they needed to find this assailant. The behavior of the elected officials and law enforcement, Andrew, have been less than stellar. There's no confidence that they know what they're doing, and it almost appears as though they're withholding information for whatever reason. It doesn't make any sense, to echo what Mark was saying, that for somebody to go into a classroom, shoot everybody up, walk away nonchalantly, and still be at large, and then have law enforcement and local officials. They sound like the mayor in Jaws saying, "Oh, there's no danger here. Everybody's safe." How can you tell us we're safe when there's an assailant running around? Unless they know that this was targeted and that the person was targeting one specific person in that classroom. And I don't want to go off, into speculation world,
Yeah.
but we all have brains and we're trying to put the pieces together.
I'm not a conspiracy theorist, and I normally shy away from them. And when I do dabble, I'm usually wrong and embarrassed about it. And then I do an after action report on myself and say, why did I go down that hole? However, the thing I already said, that the guy walked away. Number one. Number two, I'll say again, look at how little I've read all the stories, and I've done a ton of research on this. Look how little we know about what happened in that room. Look how little we know. Where did he enter from? How long was he in there? Who did he shoot in what order? How close was he to the two people he shot when he shot them? The news that has not been reported. It's not been reported by law enforcement. It's not been reported by the people in the room. Okay, that makes me suspicious. Usually by now we have more accounts of what happened in the rooms where people were shot. Go ahead, Larry.
But what we do know is that on a campus where only 6% of the student body identified themselves as conservative, and in a survey last month said that they feared sharing their political beliefs openly on campus,
Correct.
one of the people murdered was the most high-profile
Correct.
Christian conservative activist on campus.
And I say again, how would the press be approaching coverage of that victim if this were at Baylor University? And one of the two people who was killed was the head of the college Democrats.
Yeah, we know how they would.
And and that person was from Cambridge, Massachusetts. We know there would be a national thirst in the media to say, how did this happen? How could it be that that person wasn't targeted? I'm not saying she was. I've talked about this before and people twist my words. I'm just saying the combination of the mysterious circumstances of the guy walking away, of one of the two people who was killed, of nothing being reported about what happened in the room where people were killed, and her identity all adds up to we need to get to the bottom of it. I'm not engaging in a conspiracy theory. Everything I said is factual, and it's just unsettling under the circumstances.
They say that something that's easy is like a walk in the park. Well, easier than a walk in the park, hit the subscribe button, be part of the two-way community, never miss an episode, be part of our conversations. Thank you for your service to America.
And don't forget, you can now listen to the morning meeting and Two-Way Tonight on Apple, Spotify, or wherever you get your podcasts.